couch, whereon the weary might lean. This, you must think, all things considered, was tempting, for the pilgrims already began to be foiled with the badness of the way, but there was not one of them that made so much as a motion to stop there. Yet, for aught I could perceive, they continually gave so good heed to the advice of their guide, and he did so faithfully tell them of dangers, and of the nature of dangers when they were at them, that usually, when they were nearest to them, they did most pluck up their spirits, and hearten one another to deny the flesh. This arbor was called the Slothful's Friend on purpose to allure, if it might be, some of the pilgrims there to take up their rest when weary. I saw then in my dream, that they went on in this their solitary ground, till they came to a place at which a man is apt to lose his way. Now, though when it was light their guide could well enough tell how to miss those ways that led wrong, yet, in the dark, he was put to a stand. But he had in his pocket a map of all ways leading to or from the celestial city, wherefore he struck a light, for he also never goes without his tinder box, and takes a view of his book or map, which bids him be careful in that place to turn to the right-hand way. And had he not here been careful to look in his map, they had, in all probability, been smothered in the mud, for, just a little before them, and that at the end of the cleanest way too, was a pit, none knows how deep, full of nothing but mud, there made on purpose to destroy the pilgrims in. Then thought I with myself, who that goeth on pilgrimage but would have one of those maps about him, that he may look, when he is at a stand, which is the way he must take. They went on then in this enchanted ground till they came to where was another arbor, and it was built by the highway side. And in that arbor there lay two men, whose names were Heedless and Too Bold. These two went thus far on pilgrimage, but here, being wearied with their journey, they sat down to rest themselves, and so fell fast asleep. When the pilgrims saw them, they stood still, and shook their heads, for they knew that the sleepers were in a pitiful case. Then they consulted what to do, whether to go on, and leave them in their sleep, or to step to them, and try to awake them. So they concluded to go to them and wake them, that is, if they could, but with this caution, namely, to take heed that themselves did not sit down nor embrace the offered benefit of that arbor. So they went in and spake to the men, and called each one by his name, for the guide, it seems, did know them, but there was no voice or answer. Then the guide did shake them, and do what he could to disturb them. Then said one of them, I will pay you when I take my money. At which the guide shook his head. I will fight so long as I can hold my sword in my hand, said the other. At that, one of the children laughed. The land of Beulah then said, Christiana, what is the meaning of this? The guide said, they talk in their sleep. If you strike them, beat them, or whatever else you do to them, they will answer you after this fashion, or, as one of them said in old time, when the waves of the sea did beat upon him, and he slept as one upon the mast of a ship, when shall I awake? I will seek it yet again. You know, when men talk in their sleep, they say anything, but their words are not governed either by faith or reason. There is an unsuitableness in their words now, as there was before betwixt their going on pilgrimage and sitting down there. This, then, is the mischief of it, when heedless ones go on pilgrimage, 'tis 20 to 1 but they are served thus. For this enchanted ground is one of the last refuges that the enemy to pilgrims has, wherefore, it is, as you see, placed almost at the end of the way, and so it standeth against us with the more advantage. For when, thinks the enemy, will these fools be so desirous to sit down as when they are weary? And when so like to be weary as when almost at their journey's end? Therefore it is, I say, that the enchanted ground is placed so near to the land of Beulah, and so near the end of their race. Wherefore, let pilgrims look to themselves, lest it happen to them as it has done to these, that, as you see, are fallen asleep, and none can wake them. Then the pilgrims desired, with trembling, to go forward, only they prayed their guide to strike a light, that they might go the rest of their way by the help of the light of a lantern. So he struck a light, and they went by the help of that through the rest of this way, though the darkness was very great. But the children began to be sorely weary, and they cried out to him that loveth pilgrims to make their way more comfortable. So, by that they had gone a little farther, a wind arose that drove away the fog, so the air became more clear. Yet they were not off, by much, of the enchanted ground, only now they could see one another better, and the way wherein they should walk. Now, when they were almost at the end of this ground, they perceived that a little before them was a solemn noise, as of one that was much concerned. So they went on, and looked before them, and behold, they saw, as they thought, a man upon his knees, with hands and eyes lift up, and speaking, as they thought, earnestly to one that was above. They drew nigh, but could not tell what he said, so they went softly till he had done. When he had done, he got up, and began to run towards the celestial city. Then Mr. Greatheart called after him, saying, So ho, friend! Let us have your company, if you go, as I suppose you do, to the celestial city. So the man stopped, and they came up to him. But, as soon as Mr. Honest saw him, he said, I know this man. Then said Mr. Valiant for truth, Prithee, who is it? It is one, said he, that comes from whereabout I dwelt. His name is Standfast, he is certainly a right good pilgrim. So they came up one to another. And presently Standfast said to Old Honest, Ho, Father Honest, are you there? Ay, said he, that I am, as sure as you are there. Heedless and too bold, right glad am I, said Mr. Standfast, that I have found you on this road. And as glad am I, said the other, that I espied you upon your knees. Then Mr. Standfast blushed, and said, But why? Did you see me? Yes, that I did, quoth the other, and with my heart was glad at the sight. Why, what did you think? Said Standfast. Think, said Old Honest, what should I think? I thought we had an honest man upon the road, and therefore should have his company by and by. If you thought not amiss, said Standfast, how happy am I! But, if I be not as I should, I alone must bear it. That is true, said the other, but your fear doth further show me that things are right betwixt the Prince of Pilgrims and your soul, for he saith, Blessed is the man that feareth always. Valiant. Well, but, brother, I pray thee, tell us what was it that was the cause of thy being upon thy knees even now? Was it for that some special mercy laid upon thee, the need of prayer, or how? Stand. Why, we are, as you see, upon the enchanted ground, and as I was coming along, I was musing with myself of what a dangerous road the road in this place was, and how many that had come even thus far on pilgrimage, had here been stopped and been destroyed. I thought also of the manner of the death with which this place destroyeth men. Those that die here die of no violent, painful disease, the death which such die is not grievous to them. For he that goeth away in such a sleep, begins that journey with desire and pleasure. Yet, such sink into the will of that disease. Honorable then Mr. Honest, interrupting of him, said, Did you see the two men asleep in the arbor? Stand fast repulses, madam, stand. I saw Heedless and Too Bold there, and, for aught I know, there they will lie till they rot. But let me go on in my tale. As I was thus musing, as I said, there was one in very pleasant attire, but old, who presented herself to me, and offered me 3 things, to wit, her body, her purse, and her bed. Now, the truth is, I was both weary and sleepy, I am also as poor as an owlet, and that, perhaps, the witch knew. Well, I repulsed her once or twice, but she put by my repulses, and smiled. Then I began to be angry, but she mattered that nothing at all. Then she made offers again, and said, if I would be ruled by her, she would make me great and happy. For said she, I am the mistress of the world, and men are made happy by me. Then I asked her name, and she told me it was Madam Bubble. This set me farther from her, but she still followed me with enticements. Then I betook me, as you saw, to my knees, and, with hands lift up, and cries, I prayed to him that had said he would help. So, just as you came up, the gentlewoman went her way. Then I continued to give thanks for this my great deliverance, for I verily believe she intended no good, but rather sought to make stop of me in my journey. Honorable, without doubt her designs were bad. But stay, now you talk of her, methinks I either have seen her, or have read some story of her. Stand. Perhaps you have done both. Honorable Madam Bubble. Is she not a tall, comely dame, somewhat of a swarthy complexion? Stand. Right, you hit it, she is just such a one. Honorable, does she not speak very smoothly, and give you a smile at the end of a sentence? Stand. You fall right upon it again, for these are her very actions. Honorable, doth she not wear a great purse by her side, and is not her hand often in it, fingering her money, as if that was her heart's delight? Stand. 'Tis just so. Had she stood by all this while, you could not more amply have set her forth before me, nor have better described her features. Honorable then he that drew her picture was a good artist, and he that wrote of her said true. Madam Bubble's influence great. This woman is a witch, and it is by virtue of her witchcraft that this ground is enchanted. Whoever doth lay his head down in her lap, had as good lay it down upon that block over which the axe doth hang, and whoever lay their eyes upon her beauty, are accounted the enemies of God. This is she that maintaineth in their splendor all those that are the enemies of pilgrims. Yet, this is she that hath bought off many a man from a pilgrim's life. She is a great gossiper, she is always, both she and her daughters, at one pilgrim's heels or other, now commanding, and then preferring the excellencies of this life. She is a bold and impudent creature, she will talk with any man. She always laugheth poor pilgrims to scorn, but highly commends the rich. If there be one cunning to get money in a place, she will speak well of him from house to house. She loveth banqueting and feasting mainly well, she is always at one full table or another. She has given it out in some places that she is a goddess, and therefore some do worship her. She has her times and open places of cheating, and she will say and avow it, that none can show a good comparable to hers. She promiseth to dwell with children's children, if they will but love her and make much of her. She will cast out of her purse gold like dust, in some places and to some persons. She loves to be sought after, spoken well of, and to lie in the bosoms of men. She is never weary of praising her gifts, and she loves them most that think best of her. She will promise, to some, crowns and kingdoms, if they will but take her advice, yet many hath she brought to the halter, and 10,000 times more to hell. Stand. O said Mr. Standfast, what a mercy it is that I did resist her. For whither might she have drawn me? Great. Whither? Nay, none but God knows whither, but in general, to be sure, she would have drawn thee into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and ruin. 'Twas she that set Absalom against his father, and Jeroboam against his master. 'Twas she that persuaded Judas to sell his Lord, and that prevailed with Demas to forsake the godly pilgrim's life. None can tell of the mischief that she doth. She makes variance betwixt rulers and subjects, betwixt parents and children, betwixt neighbor and neighbor, betwixt a man and his wife, betwixt a man and himself, betwixt the flesh and the heart. Wherefore, good master, stand fast, be as your name is, and when you have done all, stand. At this course there was among the pilgrims a mixture of joy and trembling, but at length they brake out, and sang, "What danger is the pilgrim in? How many are his foes? How many ways there are to sin no living mortal knows. Some of the ditch shy are, yet can lie tumbling in the mire, some, though they shun the frying pan, do leap into the fire." Chapter X. The Pilgrims at Home. After this, I beheld until they were come unto the land of Beulah, where the sun shineth night and day. Here, because they were weary, they betook themselves a while to rest. And because this country was common for pilgrims, and because the orchards and vineyards that were here belonged to the king of the celestial country, therefore they were permitted to make bold with any of his things. But a little while soon refreshed them here, for the bells did so ring, and the trumpets continually sound so melodiously, that they could not sleep, and yet they received as much refreshing as if they had slept their sleep never so soundly. Here also the noise of them that walked in the streets was, "More pilgrims are come to town." And another would answer, saying, "And so many went over the water, and were let in at the golden gates, today." They would cry again, "There is now a legion of shining ones just come to town," by which we know that there are more pilgrims upon the road, for here they come to wait for them, and comfort them after all their sorrow. Then the pilgrims got up, and walked to and fro. But how were their ears now filled with heavenly voices, and their eyes delighted with celestial visions! In this land they heard nothing, saw nothing, felt nothing, smelled nothing, tasted nothing, that was offensive to their stomach or mind. Only when they tasted of the water of the river over which they were to go, they thought that it tasted a little bitterish to the palate, but it proved sweeter when it was down. In this place there was a record kept of the names of them that had been pilgrims of old, and a history of all the famous acts that they had done. It was here also much spoken of, how the river to some had had its flowings, and what ebbings it had had while others have gone over. It has been in a manner dry for some, while it has overflowed its banks for others. In this place, the children of the town would go into the king's gardens, and gather nosegays for the pilgrims, and bring them to them with much affection. Here also grew camphor, with spikenard, and saffron, calamus, and cinnamon, with all the trees of frankincense, myrrh, and aloes, with all chief spices. With these the pilgrims' chambers were perfumed while they stayed here, and with these were their bodies anointed, to prepare them to go over the river, when the time appointed was come. Christiana receives message now, while they lay here, and waited for the good hour. There was a noise in the town that there was a messenger come from the celestial city with matter of great importance to one Christiana, the wife of Christian the pilgrim. So inquiry was made for her, and the house was found out where she was. So the messenger presented her with a letter, the contents whereof were, "Hail, good woman! I bring thee tidings that the Master calleth for thee, and expecteth that thou shouldest stand in his presence, in clothes of everlasting life, within these 10 days. When he had read this letter to her, he gave her therewith a sure token that he was a true messenger, and was come to bid her make haste to be gone. The token was an arrow, with a point sharpened with love, let easily into her heart, which by degrees wrought so effectually with her, that at the time appointed she must be gone. When Christiana saw that her time was come, and that she was the first of this company that was to go over, she called for Mr. Greatheart, her guide, and told him how matters were. So he told her he was heartily glad of the news, and could have been glad had the post come for him. Then she bid that he should give advice how all things should be prepared for her journey. So he told her, saying, "Thus and thus it must be, and we that are left will accompany you to the riverside." Then she called for her children, and gave them her blessing, and told them that she yet read with comfort the mark that was set in their foreheads, and was glad to see them with her there, and that they had kept their garments so white. Lastly, she gave to the poor that little she had, and commanded her sons and her daughters to be ready against the messenger should come for them. When she had spoken these words to her guide and to her children, she called for Mr. Valiant for truth, and said unto him, Sir, you have in all places shown yourself true-hearted. Be faithful unto death, and my king will give you a crown of life. I would also entreat you to have an eye to my children, and if at any time you see them faint, speak comfortably to them. For my daughters, my sons' wives, they have been faithful, and a fulfilling of the promise upon them will be their end. But she gave Mr. Standfast a ring. Then she called for old Mr. Honest, and said of him, Behold an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. Then said he, I wish you a fair day when you set out for Mount Zion, and shall be glad to see that you go over the river dry-shod. But she answered, Come wet, come dry, I long to be gone, for, however the weather is in my journey, I shall have time enough when I come there to sit down and rest me and dry me. Then came in that good man, Mr. Ready to halt, to see her. So she said to him, Thy travel hitherto has been with difficulty, but that will make thy rest the sweeter. But watch and be ready, for, at an hour when you think not, the messenger may come. After him came in Mr. Despondency and his daughter much afraid, to whom she said, You ought with thankfulness forever to remember your deliverance from the hands of giant Despair and out of Doubting Castle. The effect of that mercy is that you are brought with safety hither. Be ye watchful, and cast away fear, be sober, and hope to the end. Then she said to Mr. Feeblemind, Thou wast delivered from the mouth of giant Slay Good, that thou mightest live in the light of the living forever, and see thy king with comfort. Only I advise thee to turn thee of thy aptness to fear and doubt of his goodness, before he sends for thee, lest thou shouldest, when he comes, be forced to stand before him for that fault with blushing. Christiana crosses the river now, the day drew on that Christiana must be gone. So the road was full of people to see her take her journey. But, behold, all the banks beyond the river were full of horses and chariots, which were come down from above to accompany her to the city gate. So she came forth and entered the river, with a beckon of farewell to those that followed her to the riverside. The last words that she was heard to say were, I come, Lord, to be with thee, and bless thee. So her children and friends returned to their place, for that those that waited for Christiana had carried her out of their sight. So she went and called, and entered in at the gate with all the tokens of joy that her husband Christian had done before her. At her departure her children wept. But Mr. Greatheart and Mr. Valiant played upon the well-tuned cymbal and harp for joy. So all departed to their respective places. Pilgrims receive messages in process of time. There came a messenger to the town again, and his business was with Mr. Ready to halt. So he inquired him out, and said to him, I am come to thee from him whom thou hast loved and followed, though upon crutches, and my message is to tell thee, that he expects thee at his table, to sup with him in his kingdom, the next day after Easter, wherefore prepare thyself for this journey. Then he also gave him a token that he was a true messenger, saying, I have broken thy golden bowl and loosed thy silver cord. After this Mr. Ready to Halt called for his fellow pilgrims, and told them, saying, I am sent for, and God shall surely visit you also. So he desired Mr. Valiant to make his will. And because he had nothing to bequeath to them that should survive him but his crutches and his good wishes, therefore thus he said, These crutches I bequeath to my son that shall tread in my steps, with 100 warm wishes that he may prove better than I have done. Then he thanked Mr. Greatheart for his conduct and kindness, and so addressed himself to his journey. When he came to the brink of the river, he said, Now I shall have no more need of these crutches, since yonder are chariots and horses for me to ride on. The last words he was heard to say were, Welcome life. So he went his way. After this, Mr. Feeblemind had tidings brought him, that the messenger sounded his horn at his chamber door. Then he came in, and told him, saying, I am come to tell thee that thy master has need of thee, and that in a very little time thou must behold his face in brightness. And take this as a token of the truth of my message, those that look out at the windows shall be darkened. Then Mr. Feeblemind called for his friends, and told them what errand had been brought unto him, and what token he had received of the truth of the message. Then he said, Since I have nothing to bequeath to any, to what purpose should I make a will? As for my feeble mind, that I will leave behind me, for that I shall have no need of in the place whither I go, nor is it worth bestowing upon the poorest pilgrim, wherefore, when I am gone, I desire that you, Mr. Valiant, would bury it in a dunghill. This done, and the day being come on which he was to depart, he entered the river as the rest. His last words were, Hold out, faith and patience. So he went over to the other side. When days had many of them passed away, Mr. Despondency was sent for a messenger was come, and brought this message to him, Trembling man, these are to summon thee to be ready with thy king by the next Lord's day, to shout for joy for thy deliverance from all thy doubtings. And said the messenger, That my message is true, take this for a proof. So he gave him the grasshopper to be a burden unto him. Now, Mr. Despondency's daughter, whose name was Much Afraid, said when she heard what was done, that she would go with her father. Then Mr. Despondency said to his friends, Myself and my daughter, you know what we have been, and how troublesomely we have behaved ourselves in every company. My will and my daughter's is, that our discouraged feelings and slavish fears be by no man received, from the day of our departure forever, for I know that after my death they will offer themselves to others. For, to be plain with you, they are ghosts the which we entertained when we first began to be pilgrims, and could never shake them off after, and they will walk about and seek entertainment of the pilgrims, but, for our sakes, shut ye the doors upon them. When the time was come for them to depart, they went to the brink of the river. The last words of Mr. Despondency were, "Farewell, night. Welcome, day." His daughter went through the river singing, but none could understand what she said. Then it came to pass a while after, that there was a messenger in the town that inquired for Mr. Honest. So he came to his house where he was, and delivered to his hand these lines: "Thou art commanded to be ready against this day 7 night, to present thyself before thy Lord at his Father's house. And for a token that my message is true, all thy daughters of music shall be brought low." Then Mr. Honest called for his friends, and said unto them, "I die, but shall make no will. As for my honesty, it shall go with me, let them that come after me be told this." When the day that he was to be gone was come, he prepared himself to go over the river. Now, the river at that time overflowed its banks in some places, but Mr. Honest in his lifetime had spoken to one good conscience to meet him there, the which also he did, and lent him his hand, and so helped him over. The last words of Mr. Honest were, "Grace reigns." So he left the world. The final summons after this, it was noised abroad that Mr. Valiant for truth was taken with a summons by the same messenger as the other, and had this for a token that the summons was true, that his pitcher was broken at the fountain. When he understood it, he called for his friends, and told them of it. Then said he, "I am going to my father's, and though with great difficulty I am got hither, yet now I do not repent me of all the trouble I have been at to arrive where I am. My sword I give to him that shall succeed me in my pilgrimage, and my courage and skill to him that can get it. My marks and scars I carry with me, to be a witness for me that I have fought his battles, who now will be my rewarder." When the day that he must go hence was come, many accompanied him to the riverside, into which as he went he said, "Death, where is thy sting?" And, as he went down deeper, he said, "Grave, where is thy victory?" So he passed over, and all the trumpets sounded for him on the other side. Then there came forth a summons for Mr. Standfast. This Mr. Standfast was he whom the pilgrims found upon his knees in the enchanted ground, for the messenger brought it him open in his hands. The contents thereof were, that he must prepare for a change of life, for his master was not willing that he should be so far from him any longer. At this Mr. Standfast was put into a muse. "Nay," said the messenger, "you need not doubt the truth of my message, for here is a token of the truth thereof: thy wheel is broken at the cistern." Then he called to him Mr. Greatheart, who was their guide, and said unto him, "Sir, although it was not my hap to be much in your good company in the days of my pilgrimage, yet, since the time I knew you, you have been profitable to me. When I came from home, I left behind me a wife and 5 small children. Let me entreat you at your return, for I know that you will go and return to your master's house, in hopes that you may yet be a conductor to more of the holy pilgrims, that you send to my family, and let them be acquainted with all that hath or shall happen unto me. Tell them moreover of my happy arrival to this place, and of the present and late blessed condition that I am in. Tell them also of Christian and Christiana his wife, and how she and her children came after her husband. Tell them also what a happy end she made, and whither she is gone. I have little or nothing to send to my family, unless it be my prayers and tears for them, of which it will suffice that you acquaint them, if peradventure they may prevail. End of the pilgrimage. When Mr. Standfast had thus set things in order, and the time being come for him to haste him away, he also went down to the river. Now, there was a great calm at that time in the river, wherefore Mr. Standfast, when he was about halfway in, stood a while, and talked to his companions that had waited upon him thither. And he said, This river has been a terror to many, yet the thoughts of it have also frighted me, but now methinks I stand easy, my foot is fixed upon that on which the feet of the priests that bear the ark of the covenant stood while Israel went over Jordan. The waters, indeed, are to the palate bitter, and to the stomach cold, yet the thought of what I am going to, and of the conduct that waits for me on the other side, doth lie as a glowing coal at my heart. I see myself now at the end of my journey, my toilsome days are ended. I am going to see that head which was crowned with thorns, and that face which was spit upon for me. I have formerly lived by hearsay and faith, but now I go where I shall live by sight, and shall be with him in whose company I delight myself. I have loved to hear my Lord spoken of, and wherever I have seen the print of his shoe in the earth, there I have coveted to set my foot to. His name has been to me as a perfume box, yet sweeter than all sweet smells. His voice to me has been most sweet, and his countenance I have more desired than they that have most desired the light of the sun. His word I did use to gather for my food, and for medicine against my faintings. He has held me, and hath kept me from my sins, yet my steps hath he strengthened in his way. Now, while he was thus speaking, his countenance changed, his strong man bowed under him, and, after he had said, Take me, for I come unto thee, he ceased to be seen of them. But glorious it was to see how the open region was filled with horses and chariots, with trumpeters and pipers, with singers and players on stringed instruments to welcome the pilgrims as they went up, and followed one another in at the beautiful gate of the city. As for Christian's children, the 4 boys that Christiana brought with her, with their wives and children, I did not stay where I was till they were gone over. Also, since I came away, I heard one say that they were yet alive, and so would be for the help of the church in that place where they were for a time. Shall it be my lot to go that way again, I may give those that desire it an account of what I here am silent about. Meantime I bid my reader adieu. The Little Pilgrim. The story of a little girl who tried to go on pilgrimage. In a large old house, with 2 kind aunts, the little Marian dwelt, and a happy child she was, I ween, for though at times she felt that playmates would be better far than either birds or flowers, yet her kind old aunts, and story books, soothed many lonely hours. Her favorite haunt, in the summer time, was a large old apple tree, and oft amid the boughs she sat, with her pet book on her knee. The Pilgrim's Progress was its name, and Marian loved it much. It is, indeed, a glorious book, there are not many such. She read it in her little bed, beside the winter fire, and in summer time, in the apple tree, as though she would never tire. But, unexplained, 'tis just the book to puzzle the young brain, and the poor child had no kind friend, its meaning to explain. For though her aunts were very kind, they were not overwise, and only said, "Don't read so, child, I'm sure you'll spoil your eyes." But Marian still went reading on, and visions strange and wild began to fill the little head of the lonely, dreaming child, for she thought that Christian and his wife, and all their children too, had left behind their pleasant home, and done what she must do. "I'll take my Bible," said the child, "and seek the road to heaven. I'll try to find the wicket gate, and hope to be forgiven. I wish my aunts would go with me, but 'tis in vain to ask. They are so deaf and rather lame, they'd think it quite a task. No, I must go alone, I see, so I'll not let them know, or, like poor Christian's friends, they'll say, 'My dear, you must not go.' But I must wait till some grand scheme can all their thoughts engage, and then I'll leave my pleasant home, and go on pilgrimage." She had not waited long, before, one fine autumnal day, she saw the large old coach arrive, to take her aunts away. "We're going out to spend the day," the two old ladies said. "We mean to visit Mrs. Blair. Poor soul, she's ill in bed." "But, Marian, you must stay at home, for the lady's ill. You see, you can have your dinner, if you like, in the large old apple tree, and play in the garden all the day, quite happy and content." A few more parting words were said, and off the ladies went. The servants, too, were all engaged. "The day is come at last," said Marian, "but oh, I wish my pilgrimage was past." She knelt beside the apple tree, and for God's assistance prayed. Then, with her basket in her hand, forth tripped the little maid. Behind the house where Marian dwelt, far off in the distance, lay a high steep hill, which the sun at morn tinged with its earliest ray. Difficulty was its rightful name, the child had often thought. Towards this hill she turned her steps, with hopeful visions fraught. The flowers seemed to welcome her, 'twas a lovely autumn morn. The little lark sang merrily, above the waving corn. "Ah, little lark, you sing," said she, "on your early pilgrimage. I, too, will sing, for pleasant thoughts should now my mind engage." In clear, sweet strains she sang a hymn, and tripped lightly on her way, until a pool of soft, thick mud across her pathway lay. "This is the slough of despond," she cried, but she bravely ventured through, and safely reached the other side, but she lost one little shoe. On an old grey stone she sat her down, to eat some fruit and bread, then took her little Bible out, and a cheering psalm she read. Then with fresh hope she journeyed on, for many miles away, and she reached the bottom of the hill, before the close of day. She clambered up the steep ascent, though faint and weary, too, but firmly did our Marian keep her purpose still in view. "I'm glad, at least, the arbor's past," said the little tired soul. "I'm sure I should have sat me down and lost my little roll." On the high hilltop she stands at last, and our weary pilgrim sees a porter's lodge, of ample size, half hid by sheltering trees. She clapped her hands with joy, and cried, "Oh, there's the wicket gate, and I must seek admittance there, before it is too late." Gently she knocks, 'tis answered soon, and at the open door stands a tall, stout man. Poor Marian felt as she ne'er had felt before. With tearful eyes, and trembling hand, flushed cheek, and anxious brow, she said, "I hope you're watchful, sir, I want discretion now." "Oh yes, I'm watchful," said the man, "as a porter ought to be. I suppose you've lost your way, young miss, you've lost your shoe, I see." "Missus," he cried to his wife within, "here's a child here, at the door, you'll never see such a one again, if you live to be fourscore." She wants discretion, so she says, "Indeed I think 'tis true, but I know some who want it more, who will not own they do." "Go to the hall," his wife replies, "and take the child with you. The ladies there are all so wise, they'll soon know what to do." The man complied, and led the child through many a flowery glade. "Is that the palace beautiful?" the little pilgrim said. "There, to the left, among the trees." "Why, miss, 'tis mighty grand. Call it a palace, if you please, 'tis the finest in the land." Now we be come to the fine old porch, and this is the marble hall. Here, little lady, you must stay, while I the servants call. Tired and sad he left the child, but he quickly reappeared, and with him the lady of the house. Poor Marian's heart was cheered. "Sweet little girl," the lady said, in accents soft and kind, "I'm sure you sadly want some rest, and rest you soon shall find." To a room where 3 young ladies sat, the child was quickly led. Piety, prudence, and charity to herself she softly said, "What is your name, my little dear?" Said the eldest of the 3, whom Marian, in her secret thought, had christened Piety. "We'll send a servant to your friends, how uneasy they must be." Admiringly she watched the child, who, indeed, was fair to see. Around her bright and lovely face fell waves of auburn hair, as modestly she told her name, with whom she lived and where. "How did you lose your way, my love?" She gently raised her head. "I do not think I've lost my way," the little pilgrim said. "This is the palace beautiful, may I stay here tonight?" They smiled and said, "We're glad our house finds favor in your sight. Yes, gladly will we keep you here, for many nights to come." "Thank you," said Marian, "but I soon must seek my heavenly home. The valley of the shadow of death is near this house, I know." She stopped, for she saw, with great surprise, their tears began to flow. She little thought the mourning dress, which all the ladies wore, was for one whom they had dearly loved, and should see on earth no more. Their brother had been called away, their brightest and their best. No wonder, then, that Marian's words roused grief in every breast. Sobs only for a while were heard. At length the ladies said, "My love, you have reminded us of our loved and early dead, but this you could not know, my dear, and it indeed is true, we are all near to death's dark door, even little girls like you." "Yes," said the timid, trembling child, "I know it must be so, but, I hope that piety may be with me when I go. And will you show me your armory, when you have time to spare? I hope you have some small enough for a little girl to wear. No more she said, for piety, as Marian called her, cast her arms around the pilgrim's neck, the secret's out at last. You puzzled all, said piety, but now, I see, you've read a glorious book, which, unexplained, has turned your little head. Oh, dearly, when I was a child, I loved that Pilgrim tale, but then Mamma explained it well, and if we can prevail on your kind aunts to let you stay some time with us, my dear, you shall read that book with my Mamma, and she will make it clear. Now we'll return to Marian's home, and see what's passing there. The servants all had company, and a merry group they were. They had not missed our Pilgrim long, for they knew she oft would play in that old garden, with a book, the whole of the livelong day. Betty, at last, said the housekeeper, where can Miss Marian be? Her dinner was in the basket packed, but sure, she'll come in to tea. They sought her here, they sought her there, but they could not find the child, and her poor old aunts, when they came home, with grief were almost wild. The coachman and the footman too, in different ways were sent, but none thought of the narrow way in which the Pilgrim went. Perhaps she followed us to town, poor Aunt Rebecca said. I wish we had not left our home, I fear the child is dead. And to the town the coachman went, for they knew not what to do, and night drew on, when a country boy brought Marian's little shoe. With the shoe in her hand, the housekeeper into the parlour ran. Oh, mistress, here is all that's left of poor Miss Marian. It was found sticking in the mud, just above Harlem Chase. I fear the poor child's perished there, for 'tis a frightful place. Then louder grew the ladies' grief, but soon their hearts were cheered, when a footman grand, with a note in his hand, from the distant hall appeared. Aunt Ruth now read the note, and cried, "Oh, sister, all is well. The child is safe at Brookland Hall, with Lady Arundel, who wants to keep her for a month. Why, yes, I think she may. Such friends as Lady Arundel are not met with every day. Our compliments, and thanks to her. When you return, young man, we'll call tomorrow at the Hall, and see Miss Marian." Then came a burst of grateful joy, that could not be suppressed, and, with thankful hearts and many tears, the ladies went to rest. We'll take a peep at our Marian now, there in her bed lies she, how blissful were her dreams that night, in the arms of piety. Oh, that happy month at Brookland Hall, how soon it passed away. Cheerful and good were Marian's friends, and who so kind as they? And, more than all, while there she stayed they did their best to bring the little lamb to that blessed fold where reigns the Shepherd King. For many a lesson ne'er forgot, the little Marian learned, and a thoughtful and a happier child she to her home returned. Years rolled away, the scene has changed, a wife and mother now, Marian has found the wicket gate, she and her children too. And oh, how sweet it is to see this little pilgrim band, as on towards their heavenly home, they travel hand in hand. When cloudy days fall to their lot, they see a light afar, the light that shone on Bethlehem's plain, the Pilgrim's guiding star. And now, dear children, whosoe'er, or wheresoe'er you be, who ponder o'er this strange, true tale of Marian's history, if to the flowers of your young hearts, instructions dues are given, oh, be earnest as our Marian was, to find the road to heaven. Footnotes: 1. Bedford Jail, in which Bunyan was 12 years a prisoner. 2. Tophet here means hell. 3. Idle 1. 4. An old word meaning money or riches. 5. This word means pleasant or delightful. 6. Perspective glass is an old name for a telescope or spyglass. 7. An atheist is one who does not believe that there is a God. 8. That is, of the body and blood of Christ. 9. An instrument of music, used in the time of John Bunyan, somewhat like a very small piano. 10. An Old English coin, bearing the figure of an angel. 11. The word let here means hindrance. Transcriber's note: minor typographical errors, punctuation and inconsistencies have been silently normalized. Archaic spelling has been retained. Page 365 Tell truth has been changed to tell true. Asterisk 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 End of the Project Gutenberg ebook The Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. Every child can read asterisk 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 Updated editions will replace the previous one, the old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works, so the Foundation, and you, can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the general terms of use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept and trademark. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark, and may not be used if you charge for an ebook, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use of the Project Gutenberg trademark. If you do not charge anything for copies of this ebook, complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this ebook for nearly any purpose, such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances and research. Project Gutenberg ebooks may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with ebooks not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start. Full license. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting the free distribution of electronic works, by using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg. You agree to comply with all the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license available with this file or online at www.gutenberg.org/license. Section 1. General terms of use and redistributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works 1.0. By reading or using any part of this Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work, you indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark/copyright, agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or destroy all copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in your possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work and you do not agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1.e.8. 1.b Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark. It may only be used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few things that you can do with most Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1.c below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works if you follow the terms of this agreement and help preserve free future access to Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. See paragraph 1.e below. 1.c. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the Foundation or PGLAF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Nearly all the individual works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying or creating derivative works based on the work as long as all references to Project Gutenberg are removed. Of course, we hope that you will support the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting free access to electronic works by freely sharing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works in compliance with the terms of this agreement for keeping the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol name associated with the work. You can easily comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the same format with its attached full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license when you share it without charge with others. 1.d. The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work or any other Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. The Foundation makes no representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1.e Unless you have removed all references to Project Gutenberg, 1.e.1. The following sentence, with active links to, or other immediate access to, The full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license must appear prominently whenever any copy of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, any work on which the phrase Project Gutenberg appears, or with which the phrase Project Gutenberg is associated, is accessed, displayed, performed, viewed, copied or distributed. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. 1.e.2. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law, does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder, the work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 or obtain permission for the use of the work and the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.3. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is posted with the permission of the copyright holder, your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms will be linked to the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license for all works posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. 1.e.4. Do not unlink or detach or remove the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license terms from this work, or any files containing a part of this work or any other work associated with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. 1.e.5. Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1.e.1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. 1.e.6. You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access to or distribute copies of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work in a format other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official version posted on the official Project Gutenberg trademark symbol website, www.gutenberg.org, you must, at no additional cost, fee or expense to the user, provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy, or a means of obtaining a copy upon request, of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license as specified in paragraph 1.e.1. 1.e.7. Do not charge a fee for access to, viewing, displaying, performing, copying or distributing any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works unless you comply with paragraph 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or providing access to or distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works provided that you pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from the use of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works calculated using the method you already use to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed to the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, but he has agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Section 4, Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing, or by email, within 30 days of receipt that he does not agree to the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue all use of and all access to other copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1.f.3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. 1.e.9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing from the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the manager of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark. Contact the Foundation as set forth in Section 3 below. 1.f1.f.1. Project Gutenberg volunteers and employees expend considerable effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection. Despite these efforts, Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects such as, but not limited to, incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus, or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1.f.2. Limited warranty, disclaimer of damages. except for the right of replacement or refund described in paragraph 1.f.3, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract except those provided in paragraph 1.f.3. You agree that the Foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive or incidental damages even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1.f.3. Limited right of replacement or refund. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1.f.4. Except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1.f.3, this work is provided to you as is, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1.f.5. Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1.f.6. Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the Foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the Foundation, anyone providing copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the production, promotion and distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this or any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. B. Alteration, modification, or additions or deletions to any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, and c. Any defect you cause. Section 2. Information about the mission of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol is synonymous with the free distribution of electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the assistance they need are critical to reaching Project Gutenberg trademark symbol's goals and ensuring that the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection will remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure and permanent future for Project Gutenberg trademark symbol and future generations. To learn more about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation and how your efforts and donations can help, see sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. Section 3. Information about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation is a non-profit 501(c)(3) educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The Foundation's IN or Federal Tax Identification Number is 64-6221541. Contributions to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 809 North 1500 West, Salt Lake City, UT 84116. 801-596-1887. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol depends upon and cannot survive without widespread public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form accessible by the widest array of equipment including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff. Please check the Project Gutenberg web pages for current donation methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways, including checks, online payments and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Section 5. General information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and distributed Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks with only a loose network of volunteer support. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks are often created from several printed editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the US unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, we do not necessarily keep ebooks in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org. This website includes information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol, including how to make donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new ebooks, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new ebooks.